So welcome back, everyone. It's lovely to see you all, as always. Let's begin by going straight into the superpower state. So take a deep breath and either close your eyes or leave them open, whichever you prefer. And go into your superpower state however you normally do that. So by focusing on by repeating your word or phrase, or by using your anchor, or by focusing on your subject and how much you love them, everything you love and appreciate about them. Very good. And start to feel that opening feeling in your heart, that expansion of your chest as you focus in on that love and appreciation. And allow that light, that energy to shine out from you. Very, very good. And now allow that light or energy to spread down to your toes, up to the top of your head and out to your fingertips. So you're now full of that light, that energy, that love. Good job. And now allow that light or energy to fill each of the 50 trillion cells that make up your body. Love each little cell just for existing. Very, very good. Now allow that light, that energy to fill yourself as a child, any age, that little you. See that little you being filled with that light, that energy, that power, empowering that little you and loving that little you exactly as they are, no matter what. Very, very good. And see that light, that energy overflowing from that little you and filling your whole childhood. Everything, everyone, every event, every circumstance, every experience with this light, this energy, this power, shining the light into any darkness, noticing the power of it, loving it all anyway, no matter what. Very good. And now allow that light or energy to fill each of the participants on this call today, everybody who's on camera and everybody who's off camera. Love each one just for existing. Good job. Very, very good. All right, you can open your eyes if you have them closed. And welcome back, everyone. How wonderful to see you all. And let's go straight into checking in with each person, finding out how you're doing. So, Patricia, you're first up on my screen today. How are you today? How lovely to see you.
I am wonderful.
Good.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're very.
I've been working on that allowing time and trying to find, as I spoke to Steve earlier about, but one thing I forgot to tell him, yesterday afternoon I had to go to a town meeting, and at the town meeting I met 4 new people in the community that have built houses here, and I've been wanting to go to their houses, but since it was a town meeting and they were all in town, and so of course I've been invited to all their houses and I've invited them to my house.
Wow.
So I can already feel that, what he's talking about, and I'm going to work on that. But it's already working. I mean, wow.
That is wonderful, Patricia. And thank you so much for sharing it here, because it helps to encourage and inspire others as well. And yes, what's wonderful is just like physical exercise, where you don't have to wait until you've gone through the whole program to see results. You start to see results. You know, you start to feel stronger or fitter or whatever as you do the exercises. And this is the same. So that's a beautiful example of an early result from doing the work.
Thank you.
Very good. You're very, very welcome. And I love that pink as well, that color. The colors you wear, well, yesterday, today, beautiful.
Thank you.
Just if I can pipe in with just a couple of comments about the allowing, what that, I think what's going on. Yeah, I don't have the hard scientific evidence to prove this, but I think that what is going on in the allowing of something is that when we put ourselves into that position of allowing, we are stopping the struggle.
Yeah.
Because when we're not allowing, we're automatically in some sort of a struggle with the emotion, the feeling, whatever is happening in the moment. We're somewhere on that continuum of the fight, flight, freeze response state. And when we put ourselves up, when we step into allowing, it automatically, I believe, brings down what's going on and allows the prefrontal cortex to come back online. We're getting rid of the stress chemicals. We're allowing the prefrontal cortex to come back online. And now we're able to see things that maybe we weren't able to see before when the prefrontal cortex was offline. Maybe it was now you allowed yourself to see the opportunity to go to a meeting, or you're seeing people at this meeting that maybe in the past when you were on the stress, in that stress response state, you wouldn't have seen it before. So I'm just making or saying that out loud a little bit more, that I believe that is what's going physiologically with the allowing technique.
Thank you.
And I'd like to add to that, Steve, that there is scientific evidence for it.
Well, of course, and of course you would know that.
I'd like to reinforce that and also add that that is exactly what's happening. So, when we are resisting a feeling, in any way, with the best of all possible, intentions, best of intentions, going, oh no, I mustn't, mustn't focus on that or whatever. That is, there are still some stress chemicals there. And Steve, you're right. As we allow, we're bringing down those stress chemicals, which is allowing blood to return to the prefrontal cortex. So it is absolutely in every moment affecting our judgment, our ability to see and notice opportunities, and our risk assessment, and everything, and of course, creativity and ideas and everything. So well done, Patricia. I'm so happy to hear that. Very, very good. And did you have any questions for today?
Not right now. I'm just trying to allow things to work.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that, love.
Thank you.
All right. And Lisa, Tiara Tuesday, I assume?
Okay. Yay, Tiara Tuesday. Yeah, I was listening to, it reminds me of, I was listening to Abraham a few days ago, and she was saying something funny, like if you answer the phone and it's a wrong number, you go, oh, okay. But if you have emotions behind it and it's a relative or whoever, then it's like you give it more energy behind it. So it's like, you could always look at it like, oh, wrong number, and change your, allow it to be like that,
I like that. I like that. Very
wrong number. Oh, my tiara fell off.
Excellent.
So I was going to read from your book really quick. Memories are not real. The event is not happening now. This is on page 86. What you're experiencing in your mind is just neurons firing in a specific sequence and chemicals being pumped into your bloodstream, creating sensations, feelings, emotions, and impulses. This means you can change them. So what you're referring to, it's just bringing chemicals in your body up. And boy, sometimes it's like, whoa, holy cow, dude. But then all this practice helps it so much easier, That, oh, okay, I could change it. Okay, I could change this. Oh, you go throughout the day just sending love to it. It makes life so much better, so much happier.
Exactly. Very good. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing that. Good job.
And that's all.
Thank you. And Steve, could I please ask you, I forgot to switch on the air. Thank you. And also my fan here, I forgot to plug it in. If you wouldn't mind plugging it in for me, please. Thank you. Sorry, everybody. We have to close the glass doors for noise, to record these, and we've had them open instead of having the air conditioning on. And I forgot to switch the air conditioning on when I closed the doors. All right. So, Katrina. Hi, Katrina. How are you today?
I'm good, Odile.
Good.
Yes, a question was or is, how do I allow in the moment of being triggered?
Okay, and I'm going to answer that as Steve. I'm so sorry. And if you could plug this in for me, please, as well. Thank you.
Where do I plug it?
Just into that plug there. Sorry, everyone. Thank you. All right, I'm sorry, Katrina. So the question was, how do you allow in the moment when you're experiencing a challenge? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say, do you want to give me a real life example, or shall I just use like a made up example? If you've got something that you want to apply it to, I can use.
Okay, right. I've this written out, so we might as well run with it. It could help others, maybe. I don't know. So this is we're going back, 15 years ago or whatever. So it's in the past. So an old painful memory, okay, has been triggered. So basically, it was an arrangement was made, but they didn't keep their word. So the thing that was triggered was the person not keeping their word, today. But this thing happened. Okay. So back then, they didn't keep the word. The old memory didn't keep the word. The whole night there was no contact, which was totally out of character. Came home drunk as a skunk and told me they had the best night of their life ever. But my night experience was one of worry, sickness. I thought they had an accident. And then the jealousy went in when they said they had the best night ever.
Okay, an excellent example. So thank you very much for sharing that, Katrina. So let's have a look. We'll just break it down to have a closer look at exactly what's going on. So of course, as we know, everything we experience now is coming from childhood references. So as you were experiencing it, so as including I had the best night ever and all of that was going on, as you were experiencing that, your subconscious was referring to whatever that means. Okay, so whatever that means to you from your childhood experiences, number one, and number two, then your conscious mind runs off with that or gets carried away with that, right? Takes the ball and runs with it. So, for example, let me ask you, remind me of how this beginning, so they didn't stick to their word, right? That was the first trigger?
They didn't, yeah, they told me they were going to a certain place, and it came, 11 o'clock. I was expecting them back at 9. And the person, when I rang at 11, they didn't go there at all. They never went.
Right.
So they lied.
First trick, they lied. They didn't go where they said they would go. Now, in that moment, as you heard them, got the information, you realized they didn't go where they said they would go. What did that mean to you? Because maybe they just changed their mind or something, but what it obviously has a meaning, the fact that they lied or the fact that they didn't go where they said they would go.
But I was because I believed and I was so sure.
There you go.
And then, when the person said no, there was no arrangement.
Right.
So he was so convincing, telling me that this is exactly where it was going to be, so don't be following me up or whatever, that type of thing. He never would have thought that I would have rang.
Right. And
yes,
so
there was no reason why I couldn't have rang at the same time,
So very good. So what does it mean to you that he didn't go where he said he was going to go? What does that mean? What's wrong with that?
When you say it like that, I don't know. problem was, but there was a very big problem at the time.
Yes, I completely understand. And that's because, of course, it is coming from childhood rather than from this particular incident. That's why it's so strong, and that's why it's difficult to find a conscious reason right now. So, but what did you think in that moment? So when that happened and you realized that, where did your mind go? What kind of thoughts were coming up for you?
No, you're going to have to come from a different angle.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, that's all right. So okay, so he went somewhere else. He didn't go where he said he would. Now, to answer your original question, we'll sort out the references for that. But to answer your original question first, how do I feel? How do I do the allowing technique in the moment? The answer is to become aware in the moment of, so let's say I had that reaction. Let's say Steve said he was going somewhere and it turned out he didn't, his face, he didn't go where he said he would. And let's say I got that feeling. Then I would home in on, okay, so what's going on right now? Where in my body am I feeling this? So maybe I'm feeling in my throat, like a tightness in my throat, or maybe my heart, my chest, or maybe it's kind of all over, or maybe in my head. Where am I feeling it? What kind of feeling is it? What kind of sensation? So you bring your attention, you take your attention off the meaning of the thing. So instead of thinking, yeah, he said he was going there and he didn't, and why didn't he tell me? And how, he could have told me, what's he up to? Why did he have to go? Instead of running with those thoughts, I start going, okay, I'll come back to those thoughts. So you're not pushing them away. You're going, I'll come back to it. But for a moment, I'm just going to, out of curiosity, notice where I'm feeling. And let's say I feel it in my heart. Let's say I feel like a hurt or a pressure in my heart. Then I start to home in on that and go, so what is this? It's a sensation. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a sensation, like when I've got my elbow resting on the arm of the chair. That sensation between my elbow and the chair, that's the same thing here. It's like a pressure or something. It's just a sensation, and then you can start allowing. So what if I just allow this sensation and I just notice what this sensation is? It's interesting. I get out my little magnifying glass. I become the detective. I become the observer. I go, okay, so if I just allow, so whatever he's done, so he lied, he said he was going there, now he's not. So now I'm going to allow that. And so what? And so what happens next? And allow the feelings. And then as I allow the feelings, maybe I feel like, well, he shouldn't. Interesting. Yep. Allow that as well. But I'm sick of, good. Allow that too. And the answer to everything that comes up, no matter what it is, even if it's, I don't want to allow it, allow that. And then there is nothing, there is no answer to that. There is nothing that can override that, because you're just going to allow whatever comes up. It's like if you're in an argument with someone, and if you start just saying, I understand, yes, of course I understand, eventually they're going to run out of argument because there's nothing to argue against. And when you stop trying to push or change or deny or suppress or anything like that, resist those feelings, eventually they run out of warmth. And physiologically, as we said earlier, what's happening, of course, is you're bringing down the stress chemicals. And that's going to bring your prefrontal cortex back online. You're going to start to be able to feel calmer, and which is followed by being able to think more clearly. Does that help?
Yes. So I don't need to find, I don't have to dig around anymore. I just keep allowing.
Well, so you still do need to change the references, because you can keep allowing. So the way to think of it is this way. The allowing technique is to cope in the moment when you're in the emotions, and it is a way to open the door to be able to change the references. So it's, I know Steve has said before that it's like the due justice technique in that it's a way of getting into change, getting past any resistance, getting past any challenges and struggle and overwhelming emotions. So it's going, okay, I'm going to float now. I'm going to stop flailing around in the water and I'm going to float, but I still need the lifeboat or the ring, you know, that thing they throw you or whatever. I still need to get to shore, but I'm not going to fight my way there, because the more I fight, the more turbulent the water becomes. And as you start to float, then you allow yourself to start heading in the direction of the shore. Does that help a little bit? Good.
Yes.
Good. So that's the way to, and another analogy I've used before is instead of arm wrestling with the thing, because as long as you're arm wrestling, you're holding on to it. You know, you're holding hands. While you're arm wrestling with someone, you are holding their hand, right? So if you're arm wrestling with a challenge or a feeling or anything you don't want, as you're wrestling with it, you're holding on to it. You want to let go and allow the thing to. So that's that part. Now let's look at the references. So this, so we want to just check this. What is the overwhelming feeling from this experience that happened last night? So you had this experience, the whole thing. So because the final thing is he came home and said he had the best night of his life, best night ever, right? Okay, so the best night ever, what does that mean to you that he had the best night ever last night?
Because I had the most stressful night. I was worried sick. I thought it was in a ditch somewhere, an accident, or, you know, there was no, maybe no mobiles in those days. There was no way of contacting him. So the whole time I was left wondering. So it was that all those hours from 7 to 7. He went to bed at 7. He didn't come home the next morning to 7.
Right.
And he couldn't stand because he was drunk. I don't know how he drove. Do you know what I mean?
So there was that worry, that the fact that you'd spent all of that time worried about him, so your heart was vulnerable there, and in the meantime, he was busy having a good time. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Good job. So that feeling of I was suffering on behalf of him, but he was having a good time. Where in your childhood did you have that same feeling, whatever that is?
Of worrying?
It may or may not be worry. It may not be worry. It could be suffering in some other way, and it turns out it was. So whatever that feeling is, and it's going to be different for different people. So for example, somebody, you know, they're enjoying themselves, and I'm worried. When I realized I was worrying all that time and they were enjoying themselves all that time, now in the past it would have been different, but now my interpretation or the way I would feel about that is, oh, thank goodness. And I would think of them enjoying themselves and think, okay, so they were fine. There's nothing to worry about, that kind of thing. It would be a relief. But in the past, that is definitely not the way I would have had, you know, you could have told me, you could have, and that was my mum. You could have phoned me. Here I was suffering, you know, thinking all terrible things. So it would have been, what's that feeling I would have had? It would have been perhaps a feeling of disrespect, of they don't care. Especially if they come back and say, and they hadn't gone, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, I should have let you know. No acknowledgement, no not caring. So home in on what that little feeling is for you. That little, I don't mean that little feeling, what I mean is hone right down to the core of what that feeling is for you, and then look at your childhood. Where in your childhood did you have that same feeling? And it may have nothing to do with worry. Now, in addition to that, you may want to look at any other experiences that you witnessed in your childhood. So for example, did your mum ever react like that? Did she ever worry and then it turned out there was no reason to worry, and her reaction. So that was my reference, for example. It was my mother. For you, it may be something different.
Okay, so the overall feeling is a sick, that is sickly, very, very strong, sick feeling.
Okay, good. And so that sickly feeling, that strong sickly feeling, anything come up from your childhood, even if it doesn't make sense?
No.
Okay, and that's okay. So let me ask you this. Did you lose anything in your childhood? Any loss at all? You got something? Good.
A pony.
There you go. All right. And what led up to you finding out that you'd lost your pony? What happened before it? Or how did you find out?
Yeah. There was nothing. There was just, she was there, and then I come home to, go to the stable to say hi or whatever, and she wasn't there.
Right.
And then they said, you see, there was two memories. They said, somebody came in the afternoon, and your dad got a good price, and we sold her. So that was,
wow.
They said they would never sell her, and then just like this, it was gone.
There it is. There it is. So do you see that? Do you see that reference? They didn't do what they said they would do. They said they would never sell her, and then they did. He said he was going there, and then he didn't. He went somewhere else. See that? That's one reference. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
There you got that piece. And now, of course, so when that must have been a huge shock, and it must have really got your whole survival system going. And we only need one experience like that in order to form a reference, because it's about immediate survival as far as the subconscious is concerned. So the shock of that would have had extreme levels of stress chemicals in your system. So it's the same if someone dies suddenly or that kind of thing. That sudden experience would have made a huge impact. So that's great. So I mean, it's not great that it happened, obviously, but it's great that we found it. Okay. So that now is that worry, the same thing's going to happen. You see that build up. So now you lost her very suddenly. You were not expecting it. It was a shock. Now your subconscious is on the lookout for anything else that could happen like that. So he isn't where he said he would be. He doesn't come home when he said he would. Immediately, your subconscious refers to the loss of your pony and puts you on high alert. You see that?
Okay, yeah.
Very
wow.
Good job, sweetheart. Okay, so let's change it. So we want a stepping stone. And the stepping stone in this case, I think, is very important because it's one piece of the data. So we want where they tell you they're going to sell the pony, but no, they don't even tell you, they ask you. They say, Katrina, would it be all right if we need to because of whatever reasons, but we want your blessing or your input. We want you to help choose the family. Or, so that's one option. The other option, see what feels best. The other option is just that she's going away for a bit. They're lending her to someone else. Perhaps there's a little girl who's sick or something like that. They're lending her to someone else, and then she's coming back, and you get to take her to that place. So there's no coming home and she's not there. That's one possible stepping stone. The other possible stepping stone is you come home and she's not in the stable, and then she's out. You know, they've let her out for whatever reason. All right. And then the final memory, of course, is that you come home and she's there. And then she never went. They never sold her.
Dale, I just want to step in real quick and say that if I think that the stepping stones are great, but there may be a need to do a due justice letter if that feeling is really intense, and I'm sensing that it is, that little you may have been there. Give that little you the opportunity to sit down and write that letter about that incident.
Yes.
There's probably a lot there that she wants to say.
Well, can I just say there's another part in that they told me that first, and then the second part was they didn't know how to tell me. So a couple of months later, they said she was taking laminitis, which means way back then there was no cure. So when they got laminitis, they were put down. So they thought it was better to tell me that they sold her. So it's the two of them. I don't know which one is more painful.
So that's another reference that needs to be changed. And you could sell it as well. No, and it's because that's another piece of this experience with your current situation, where again, so they did, not only did they lie to you, they not only did they lie to you in the first place, where they said they'll never sell her, and then they sold her as far as your subconscious is concerned, but then it turns out they lied about that as well. So there's a double thing there. So so you could create another stepping. So I agree with Steve that a due justice letter will probably be very important in this process. So if you do that first, write the due justice letter to whoever was responsible and anybody who stood by and didn't help, you know what I mean, didn't make a difference, didn't step in. Write that and get everything out, allow that little you to get everything out on that page, including why did you lie, you know, how dare you, whatever's there. And then once you've done that, then do these stepping stones. And one of those stepping stones then, of course, with this new information, is that they told you she had laminitis or whatever it was. And so unfortunately, sweetheart, I'm so sorry, but we had to, you know, we had to put her out of her misery because she was, whatever they should have done, basically, however they should have handled it. And then they give you a hug and they comfort you and reassure you. Stepping stone, final memory, she was never real.
Mm. Yeah, that's really important to me, this thing about I don't care what it is, but don't lie to me. Tell me the truth.
Yes, that's it. Because, and again, that shock. So this is not just, oh, they lied to me and then they told me it wasn't, this is not just an unemotional situation or just a little bit of emotion. That was massive. That was life-threatening as far as your subconscious is concerned.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And especially from what you've told me, from the bit that I know about your childhood, the fact that this was your only friend, this was the being you felt close to. She replaced what should have been the connection you had with your parents, for example, and all of that. That's a huge thing. You might as well have lost a parent in the same way, where you get home and suddenly they're not there, and then they say, oh, well, they left. And you sent them away, and then you find out later they actually die. You know, that it's as big as that. So it's important to, number one, do the due justice. So the steps are, step one, do the due justice technique to whoever was responsible. Step two is then stepping stones, where they told you before they did it. So they said to you, sweetheart, she's not well. The vet, perhaps you're there when the vet comes. And unfortunately, perhaps you hear it from the vet. Unfortunately, she has this condition. We're going to need to put her down. And your mum and your dad hug you and go, oh, my angel, I'm so, so sorry. You know, and they behave in the way that they should have done. And then you're there with her when they put her down. So that's the stepping stone. Practice it 3 times. Then the next stepping stone is you went to school or whatever, you come back and they tell you, I know we said we'd never sell her, and we of course we didn't sell her, but this is what we needed to do, and we wanted you to know about. However, whatever the ideal situation would have been, practice that 3 times, and then final memory, you come home, and either she's in the stable or she's outside. Either way, you get to ride her that day, and it's a wonderful ride. How does that sound to you, Katrina?
Mm-hmm.
Sound good? Are those, oh, is that a polka dot top you're wearing?
Yeah.
It's lovely. You look like a very pretty Dalmatian.
Look, you have to talk to other people here.
Well, here's the thing, like we all know, everybody is gaining from this because, like I said, this is not just about a horse or a pony. This is about loss, and everyone experiences loss of some kind. And so this is helping a lot of people. So thank you very much for being vulnerable enough to share it and being, being here. All right. And I want to make sure that you feel you are, you're in a position where you're able to move forward with it now.
Oh, yes. Once I listened to the recording. Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
So you do that, and then think about, after you've changed after you've done due justice and you've changed all of those memories, then think about last night or whenever that happened with the person who said they were going somewhere and they didn't. Then think about that and notice if there's any change in how you feel or whatever. And of course, to keep doing that until you've changed that completely.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that was super powerful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're very, very welcome, Katrina. Very welcome. So proud of you. Good job. All right. And Chris, you're up next on my screen. How are you today?
Well, thank you so much, everyone. And Katrina, thank you for that. That was, my mind is going pop. That was just amazing. I when you first described the situation, I thought, gosh, how is the devil going to do this? Yeah, that was smart. I loved every moment of it. But as I say, my mind's going pop. Pat, well done for allowing. I'm so glad for you that you're having effects already, Patricia. I think I'm calling you Pat because I heard you say that. Oh, and Lisa, I shall never answer the telephone in the same way again. And just a little something from me. A friend called me this morning. So she's has a doctorate in nursing, and she works with people who are described in the UK as PMLD. It's a shorthand, sorry, for people with multiple and learning disabilities who are very, very profoundly disabled. And at the same time as I'm doing this work, I'm wanting to pursue this as emotional way to manage and understand better and control emotions. That's where she's focusing her work, with the emotional well-being of that group of people who do not use language or cognitive understanding because they're so profoundly disabled. So it's through their senses, through tasting jelly babies or smells and sights, eye movements. Really, really at the most profound level. And yet that's where she's focusing her efforts now to how to help those folk have well-being around their own emotions. Isn't that wonderful? So we're working together in tandem, and so I'm hoping that she's someone I'll continue to connect with and sharing our ways of working. Lovely.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Chris, and thank you for sharing that. Fantastic.
I told her all about you. Well, she knows that I'm following this method, and she's very respectful of that. So.
That's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing it. That is wonderful to hear. Thank you, Chris. Very good. And on to Swasti. Hi, Swasti. How are you today?
Hello. I'm okay, thank you. So, following my application and interview to one of the universities, I actually got rejected, but it wasn't because of a normal reason. So yesterday at 4 o'clock, the UK, Wales and Northern Ireland passed this this way of giving grades, because The first one was a bit unfair and people got lower grades than what they needed. So they ended up with 15,000 places of people not going to university or something. So now they're adjusting so that people are getting the grades.
Right.
Sergio, 1 minute. So, sorry. Yeah, so that's why I got rejected.
Okay, very good. And how do you feel about that?
It just feels a bit unfair.
Unfair? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. And so let's do the two-step process that we're doing now. So that feeling of it being unfair, can you home in on where you're feeling it in your body and what type of sensation it is? So it's unfair.
Oh, it's like a heaviness.
Heaviness, very good. And can you allow that heaviness to just be there?
Yeah.
Good, very good. And are you able to just pull back from that heaviness and notice it as separate from you?
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Swasti. Very good. And what happens when you do that inside you?
It doesn't actually change that much.
Okay, very good. And so if that heaviness had some kind of qualities to it, if it was an entity, what would that be? What would it look like or feel like?
Yeah, it would be like a heavy weight.
Heavy weight in front of you. Okay. So now see if you can ask that heavy weight, and it doesn't matter if you don't get an answer, but see if you do. You can ask that heavy weight, what does it need or how does it feel?
Freedom.
It needs freedom. Very good. Okay. And so can you give it freedom? Can you allow that heavy weight to skip off the distance or do whatever it needs to do?
Yeah.
Good job. Very, very good, sweetheart. Excellent job. All right. And so now, where is that heavy weight gone, by the way? Has it gone to live somewhere nice?
Can you go away? It's very bottom. Shut up. Sorry.
Allowing allowing the siblings.
Oh God. Okay. Sorry.
That's okay, sweetheart. It's not a problem. All right. So that heavy weight has gone skipping off to somewhere. And and perhaps it's a little misty from the spraying, and that's okay. And where has it gone to live? Perhaps it's a rainforest.
It just like walks around the house.
Walks around the house. All right. And is it happy now?
Yeah.
Good job. Very, very good. So now whenever you feel that heaviness, that unfairness, remember that it's happy walking around the house. It's doing its own thing and you don't need to engage with it. You don't need to do anything. Now let's look at the reference. So that feeling of unfair, and of course there are some obvious references in your childhood, but what's the first thing that comes to mind of that feeling of it's not fair, it's unfair?
Well, what comes to mind now is my cousin like coming and staying.
Yeah.
With me.
Right. Okay, good. And so when you think of that, do you have a new memory for that, or is there the old memory still there, or bits of the old memory?
No, I think it's like bits of the old one, just standing there and thinking like, why is he here? Just that confusion.
Very good. Good job. And now, so let's look at, so why is he here? So perhaps he's popped over to bring a present, or to give some good news or something like that as a stepping stone. Okay. And then, or actually what I would do with the stepping stone is he comes over and he wants to stay, but is it your grandparents and your aunt? Is that who was? Yeah. So your grandparents and your aunt say to him, oh, I'm really sorry, but unfortunately you can't stay here.
Okay.
All right. So that's what that little you really wants to hear.
Yeah, true.
You are the important one, and no other child is allowed to be here because you're here.
Okay.
All right, so that's the stepping stone, and practice that 3 times once you've changed it. And then the final memory is he's just popped over to bring something, to tell something positive, something nice, something exciting, a fun surprise, and then he goes. So he comes over and he says, oh, I just brought you this puppy or this present or whatever. And then, okay, bye, I'll see you later. And off he goes. And you will leave the present. Does that sound good?
Yeah. So there are 2 stepping stones. One is sorry. Can you just quick
stepping stone? Yes, sorry, that was confusing. I changed the step. So the stepping stone is that he comes over and he wants to stay, but the aunt say no, you can't stay.
Okay.
And that's the stepping stone. The final memory is he hasn't come over to stay. He's just popped over to bring something.
Yeah. Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
And that's the final memory. Practice it 3 times. Practice that one till it's established. And then anything else that's there. So let's say you change that. Is there anything else around that not fair or your cousin or anything like that?
Yeah, it just feels like the work I put into all this, like I guess it makes sense because people who applied earlier are getting the place they want now, and they only deserve that as well. But I also put the same amount of work in, and I didn't get that. Well, again, it feels unfair, but I just feel like the work just goes down the drain.
Oh, okay. So that work that you did, it doesn't serve any purpose now. You might as well have not done it. Is that right?
I don't know. It does. It does.
I thought it might, yeah. So that's just your conscious mind trying to come up with reasons for the feelings of unfairness, and that's okay. So change those memories of your cousin and your grandparents and your aunt. Do that, and then of course come forward, and then you can check this, because the truth about this is what are the options now? What does this mean? So other people have got the place, so you got rejected. Now the great news is you didn't get rejected because of anything you've done, right, or didn't do. So that's fantastic. So that's where we get to choose our focus. And as you focus on the fact of, well, I would have got in otherwise.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's what they said. But they physically don't have places.
Fantastic. So now moving forward, this particular school, was this the one you really wanted? Was this the one that was like your first choice, or not?
No, with this like late applications, because they actually started in October, November, you kind of just pick whatever uni comes and then you just go with it. So I don't really have an emotional attachment to it. But the whole idea for me was just to start the degree. I don't really want to take a gap year because that feels like a failure, like defeat to me.
Okay, and there's another reference there. So let's look at this. So let's say you don't do this one. What are the other options that you know of right now? Because there are going to be options that you don't know of yet. But
well, the only one that I thought of is a gap year, because I have the grades. There's no point doing the biomedicine one. That's if you don't have the grades.
Okay, great. And so right, and so now you have no idea what's going to happen if you take a gap year, right? You can't see the future. You don't know what opportunities, possibilities, people you'll meet, or anything come up during that gap year, right?
Yeah. No, I don't know.
And here's what I found often happens. Once we make peace with and send love to and are able to love what we don't want, the worst case scenario that we don't want, very often we don't have to experience it. Something comes up that we haven't seen before, or that we couldn't see from where we are. So it's very possible, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, we don't know, but it's very possible that as soon as you make peace with the gap year, and perhaps you're even looking forward to it, and you go, you know what, yeah, it'll be nice to do a gap year, another opportunity may come up that you wouldn't have seen coming. Does that make sense?
True. Today I was like, it's not that bad, a gap year. Is that really that bad? Because people who are going to be going to university won't be physically at the university until January anyway. It's kind of the same thing.
Exactly, exactly. So that's good. But you'll need to change those references first with your cousin, because it's not logic or your conscious mind. There's no actual reason right now. It's those childhood experiences that are causing that chemical state, which is causing the feelings, and then your conscious mind is putting reasons to it.
Okay. So so the other references that were, so it's like defeat, and also I discovered it was my dad's continuous struggle with things. So he told me a story where he struggled 5 times, but always got one success, struggled 5 times, one success. Like it was a continuous pattern. So I said, well, obviously there's something that he doesn't know about this stuff. I didn't tell him, but I tried changing that today. So I did the allowing thing. But there was always this underlying stress with the memory, and I couldn't get that to change. So I don't know what to do about that.
Okay, all right. So when you think, so he told you that that's what happened?
Yeah.
That was his experience. And when you think of it now, how is that represented? Are you remembering him telling you, or did you form a picture in your mind? So how is it represented now, that knowledge?
Yeah, so I didn't know about his childhood, obviously, but so I formed that. I made one up where he has it easy and a lot of money, and he goes to Oxford and does biology because he's interested in biology, but he just didn't choose that path. But then the parts where I was there, so I was there with him when he was doing a PhD in Cambridge. He really struggled with stress, and I couldn't change that because I was there.
That's perfect. All right. So how do you know he struggled with stress when he was at Cambridge?
Okay. Also, yeah, my mum also was telling me about how his professors would deny him and not listen to him and stuff.
Wow. Yes. So you've got a family legacy there.
Yeah.
Got that inheritance that's passed down. We struggled, and then they struggled, and now you get to struggle. So like a family heirloom that gets we had one, my family had one like that as well. So now of course you want to change that. So see how far back it goes, but your mum telling you about it, for just as an example, you can change that to her telling you how easy you always have it. Your family always has it. It's amazing. It's like your dad sailed through university, and it's because other people didn't. And somehow there's something about him. There's something about our family. We're very, very lucky. We've always been lucky. All right.
Yeah.
Good. And you seem to love him, no matter what he does, he barely has to work, and everything just lands on a silver platter for him.
Okay. Complete opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're changing your inheritance. Your inheritance is ease, fun, success. People love you.
As a matter of fact, that's what Swasti stands for in Hindi.
Yeah.
The lucky one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Sound good?
Yes, definitely.
You're very welcome. And so what you're aiming for, changing all of those, is that you're actually looking forward to a gap year or whatever's coming up. That whatever comes up, you're going to enjoy yourself.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good job, Swasti. You're very welcome, sweetheart. Thank you for sharing. All right. So, Steve, anything in the chat before we target?
Yeah, a couple of quick little questions that I think are great to bring up for everybody. First one, isn't allowing the same thing as filling everything up with unconditional love, the superpower? Even filling up the feeling that you don't want to fill it up with superpower.
Okay. All right. So, and actually, before I answer that question, I did want to read out Swasti's comment from earlier, because that was lovely. I did happen to see that. Oh, no, it wasn't. Yes, it was Swasti. I just wanted to quickly say that the superpower helped heal my mum's knee. So thank you. You're very welcome. Yay. I'm thrilled to hear that. Very good. All right. So I found that question. Thanks, Steve. So isn't that allowing the same as filling everything up with unconditional love, the superpower, even filling up the feeling that you don't want to fill it up with superpower? Very good. So yes, it is, but it's a kind of a stepping stone to the superpower, because so if, in other words, so this feeling comes up, if you're able to get yourself into the superpower state and love that feeling exactly as it is without needing it to change, that's perfect. That's the end result you're aiming for. But for most people, it can be difficult to do that consistently all the time, because depending on how much stress chemicals are in your system, how many references there are, and how challenging the situation is at the time, it can be useful to be able to just go, okay, well, let me just allow it now. And that allowing is the beginning of the superpower. It's the beginning of loving it unconditionally. Because if you can start by allowing it, that brings the stress chemicals down, and then it's easier to start feeling the unconditional love. And what happens for me, and what will happen as you move along and keep practicing this, is that it will switch to unconditional love automatically. So for me, with the challenges we've had recently, so there've been some things that have come up for me where I felt it a little bit of an emotion, and it hasn't been strong. It's just been a background something, and I haven't even been able to identify it. And so then I just stop and I go, okay, so rather than ignoring it, and of course I can love it, but let me just allow, and then it switches to unconditional love. Okay. Oh, Swasti says, oh my God, I think a miracle just happened, she said in all caps. Let's hear it. I've unmuted you.
Hello.
Hello.
Wow, I think I just got a message saying that another uni that I'd pretty much given up on because I hadn't replied for a week, they're considering me again. So they're actually conducting more interviews, where I thought they just rejected me and then not replied. So we'll see how that goes.
So you've got another beautiful example. And now, of course, make sure that you love it anyway.
Yeah.
Make sure that you think, so even if I don't get it, and even if it doesn't go through, whatever, love it all anyway. So still change those references, because this is the beginning.
Yeah, that's my priority.
Still practice and still send love. All right. Yay for you, Swasti. You are such a beautiful, tiny example.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetheart. Good job, you. All right.
And one other quick question. When you talk about childhood references, could that also include things that happen during teenage years, or is that too old?
Oh, teenage years are some of the most rich and abundant of references. So basically, it's whatever's the earliest. So if, let's say, something happened when you were a teenager, you do want to change that. But if you've got anything earlier that you can remember, address that first, because again, everything is filtered through what we've already experienced. So as a teenager, everything you were experiencing, so you were still building more references then than you are now as an adult, but every experience you had as a teenager was filtered through the earlier experiences from childhood. So you do want to change them. Start with the earlier ones if you can. If you can't think of anything, let's say the earliest you can think of is 15 years old, that's fine. Just address that one. And as you do that, as you work on that one, you may find that earlier ones come up and you go, oh, I remember something from when I was 11 or whatever. So yes, they are important to change, but go with the earliest that you can first. So I hope that helps. And anything else, Steve, or was that?
No, I think that's it.
Great. Let's do targeting. If you could send me the targets, please. And so take a deep breath, everyone. And either close your eyes or leave them open, whichever you prefer. And go into your superpower state, however you normally do that. So either by repeating your word or phrase, using your anchor, or focusing in on your subject and everything you love about them. Feel your heart opening, that expansion feeling in your chest as you fill with love and appreciation. And allow that light, that energy to shine out from you. Very good. Now allow that light or energy to spread down to your toes, up to the top of your head, and out to your fingertips. So you're now full of that light, that energy, that love. Good job. And now allow that light or energy to fill each of the 50 trillion cells that make up your body. Love each one, just for existing. Very good. Now fill your subject with that light, that energy. Home in on everything you love about them and appreciate about them. And then imagine that light, that your subject doesn't want to be with you or doesn't have the qualities that you love and admire. And keep them filled with that light, that energy anyway. Love them no matter what. Very, very good. And now let's go to Patricia. Fill Patricia with that same light, that energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Patricia, just for existing. Very good. And now to Lisa. Fill Lisa with that same light, that energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Lisa, just for existing. Good job. And now to Chris. Fill Chris with that same light, that energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Chris, just for existing. And allow that light, that energy to overflow from Chris and fill her knee. Whatever's going on with her knee, fill her knee. In fact, fill both knees, we might as well. And love both knees exactly as they are, no matter what, shining that light into any darkness, seeing her knees filled with that beautiful light, that energy, and loving them exactly as they are, even if they never change, just for existing. Good job, very, very good. And now to Katrina. Fill Katrina with that same light, that energy, from the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Katrina, just for existing. And allow that light, that energy to overflow from Katrina and fill the part of her that was struggling with the feelings around her pony. Whatever's there, everything that happened, everyone involved, and those parts of Katrina, fill it all with this light, this energy, this love, loving it all, just for existing, shining that light into any darkness, loving it all anyway. Very, very good. And now to Swasti. Fill Swasti with that same light, that energy. From the tips of her toes to the top of her head and out to her fingertips. Love Swasti, just for existing. Very, very good. And allow that light, that energy to overflow from Swasti and fill that university, the next round of interviews, the results, whatever's there, everybody involved, shining that light into any darkness and loving it all exactly as it is, without needing it to change or be one way or another, just loving it all as it is. Very good. And now allow that light, that energy to fill everyone who's off camera today, everyone who's on the call but off camera today, and everyone watching the recording. Love each one just for existing, filling each one with that light, that energy, and allowing that light or energy to overflow from them and fill their lives, everything, everyone in their lives, exactly as it is, shining the light into any darkness. Very, very good. And yourself later today, fill that version of you with that same light, that energy, that love, exactly as you are. Very good. And then a target in the world or in your life, and love that. The surge. Very, very good. You can open your eyes. So, all right, everyone, well done. Thank you for participating. Thank you for all your sharing, and congratulations to all of you who are doing the work and seeing some results. Those who are doing the work and those who are not doing the work, it's worth prioritizing it because it affects absolutely everything in your life. And those who are doing the work but not seeing the results they want yet, remember that it's like physical exercise. So when you do physical exercise, you don't suddenly get the, you're not suddenly fit from running around the block or lifting a few weights. And it's not a straight line. It's up and down. So when you hit the down ones, keep practicing. Keep using the techniques, and this new align technique helps a lot with that. So very good, everyone. Look after yourselves, and we will see you same time, same place tomorrow. And keep practicing. Lots of love to all of you. Bye-bye now.